William Harley was a man feared as much as he was respected. He had built his empire from nothing, and along the way, he had trained himself to believe that emotions were weaknesses. Late one night, while the office slept under white lights and silence, William sat reviewing important documents in the company cafe. His mind was sharp, his patience thin. That was when Lina rushed past his table, balancing a tray of cups after a long shift. She was exhausted. She had been awake since dawn, attending classes, then traveling across the city to work. Her body trembled slightly from hunger and fatigue. As she leaned forward, her hand slipped. The coffee spilled. It soaked William's documents, the ink bleeding across the pages. I'm so sorry, Lina whispered, panic rushing into her voice. Please, I'll clean it. I'll pay for it. William stood up sharply. His face hardened. In front of him, all he saw was carelessness. Do you have any idea what you've done? He snapped. Lina's eyes filled with tears. She nodded desperately, apologizing again and again. Her knees felt weak, but she stayed standing, bowing her head. The cafe manager rushed over, terrified. William didn't hesitate. Fire her, he said coldly. Immediately, Lina felt the words hit her like a slap. Please, sir, she begged, her voice breaking. I need this job. My mother is sick. I'll do anything. William didn't look at her again. He gathered his ruined papers and walked away. That night, Lina lost more than her job. She walked home in the rain, her shoes soaked, her stomach empty. When she reached her small apartment, she sat on the floor and cried silently so her mother wouldn't hear. The next morning, she sold her phone to buy medicine. She skipped meals. She started walking long distances to save money. Some days, she went to class dizzy from hunger. Still, she didn't quit. She searched for work everywhere. Many places rejected her when they heard she was a student. Others offered pay so low it barely covered transportation. Finally, she found work at a small neighborhood bookstore cafe. The hours were longer, the pay lower, but the owner was kind. At night, she cleaned tables. In between customers, she studied. Her life became smaller, harder, quieter. Months passed. One afternoon, William walked into that same bookstore cafe for a meeting. The place was simple, nothing like his luxury offices. As he waited, someone placed a cup of tea in front of him. Here you go, sir. He looked up. It was Lina. She was thinner. Her face looked tired. The light in her eyes was dimmer, but she still stood straight. Still polite, still gentle. William felt something twist inside him. She recognized him instantly. Her hands tightened around the tray, but she said nothing. She turned away and continued working. As if he were just another customer, William couldn't focus on his meeting. His mind kept returning to the way she had looked that night. Begging, breaking, and how easily he had walked away. William tried to return his attention to the meeting, but the voices around him blurred into noise. The numbers on the papers in front of him made no sense. Every few seconds, his eyes drifted back to the counter, to the way Lina moved quietly, the way she avoided his gaze, the way she carried herself, as if the world had taught her not to expect kindness. For the first time in years, William felt unsettled. When the meeting finally ended, he stood up abruptly, barely acknowledging the executives around him. As he stepped outside, he called his assistant. I want you to do something, he said, his voice low and controlled. Find out who that girl is, the one working inside. The assistant hesitated. Sir, may I ask why? William paused. His jaw tightened. I'm curious, he replied. That's all. He didn't explain that her face had followed him out of the cafe, that her quiet endurance disturbed his peace, that he wanted to know how someone he had broken so easily was still standing. Within days, reports reached him about her sick mother, her younger brother, the jobs she lost and the ones she accepted without complaint, the nights she walked home to save money, the meals she skipped, the dreams she refused to let die. Each detail sat heavier than the last. William realized then that firing her had been a single sentence for him, but a turning point in her entire life. Days later he returned. Then again. Each time he noticed more. How she counted coins carefully before buying food. How she studied during breaks. How she hid her exhaustion behind courtesy. How she never complained. One evening as the cafe closed, William finally spoke. "You found another job," he said quietly. "Yes," Lina replied, not looking at him. "I didn't know." He stopped. For the first time in years, words failed him. "I shouldn't have." She interrupted him softly. "It's okay, sir. I survived." Those words hurt more than anger would have. Slowly, William began to learn more about her life. Not from pity, but from observation. He learned how close she had come to dropping out of school. How she had skipped meals so her family could eat. How she never asked for help, even when she needed it most. Guilt settled heavy in his chest. This time, he didn't offer her money. He offered her respect. William left and never returned to the cafe. From that day on, she never heard about him again. He recommended her, quietly, anonymously, for a paid internship unrelated to his company name. Lina earned it on her own merit. She worked hard, rose slowly, and rebuilt her confidence piece by piece. William watched from a distance. Years later, Lina stood strong in her own career, shaped by hardship, not rescued from it, but built by her own determination and resilience. She had earned respect in the architecture community, her designs admired, her work ethic praised. She had rebuilt herself entirely from the life she had been forced to endure, and she carried herself with quiet confidence. One afternoon, while attending a design exhibition in the city, Lina turned a corner and almost collided with someone. She stumbled slightly and looked up. William. He looked the same, sharp, confident, commanding, but softer somehow. He smiled faintly, as if seeing her again after all these years brought a memory he hadn't expected. Lina froze for a moment. Her heart skipped a beat. She hadn't thought she would ever see him again. William smiled at her, a faint warm curve that seemed to soften the edges of the man she had once feared. "Hello," he said gently. "I'm William Harley." Lina blinked, surprised by the calmness in his voice. She felt a strange warmth in her chest, a reminder of the respect she had glimpsed in him all those years ago, before everything had gone wrong. Her heart, which had long carried a quiet ache from the past, softened. Somehow, in this moment, she had forgotten the harshness of that night, the way he had fired her so abruptly. "I'm Lina," she replied, her voice steady, yet carrying a hint of cautious curiosity. She extended her hand politely. "Lina Rivera." He took her hand gently, careful not to startle. "It's good to meet you again, Lina. Truly," he said, his eyes meeting hers with an intensity that made her feel both exposed and safe. For a moment, neither spoke. The noise of the exhibition faded into the background. William's gaze lingered on her, noticing the confidence in her posture, the quiet strength in the way she held herself, and the light in her eyes that had survived years of hardship. Lina, for her part, studied him as well, seeing beyond the powerful businessman, the man who had once seemed so unapproachable. Now, he was different somehow, softer, reflective, almost human. After a pause, Lina smiled faintly. "It's nice to meet you again, William. I didn't expect to see you here." "Neither did I," he admitted, a small chuckle escaping him. "But I'm glad I did." They walked slowly through the exhibition, the crowd moving around them like a blur. Finally, William stopped near a quiet corner away from most of the people. He looked at Lina, taking a deep breath. "Lina, I need to say something," he began, his voice unusually soft. "Something I should have said a long time ago, but I'm glad I did." Lina tilted her head slightly, curious but cautious. "What is it?" she asked. He paused, as if weighing every word. "That night, years ago, when I fired you in the cafe, I was harsh, unfair, and completely wrong. I have no right to treat you like that, and I've regretted it ever since." Lena's heart skipped a beat. She had carried that memory for years. The fear, the shame, the endless struggle that followed. But now, seeing him here, looking sincere and human, something inside her softened. I survived," she said quietly. "I had to. And I learned a lot along the way." William nodded, acknowledging her strength. "I know. And I never wanted to take that away from you. I stayed away because I didn't want to disrupt your life. But I also stayed curious. I wanted to see how far you'd come. And I see it now. I see how strong you are, Lina." Lina looked down for a moment, then back at him. "Thank you for saying that. It means something." He took a small step closer, but not too close respectfully. "I'm not asking you to forgive me immediately. I'm asking if you'd let me start over. Not as your boss. Not as the man who hurt you, but as a friend. Can we try that?" Lina studied his face, searching for any sign of manipulation, any trace of arrogance, but she found none. Only sincerity. "Friends?" she repeated softly, a small smile forming. "Yes, we can start as friends." William's lips curved into a relieved smile. "Thank you, Lina. That means more than I can say." For the first time in years, a weight lifted from both of them. They began walking together again through the exhibition, talking casually about the designs around them. Their conversation was light at first, then slowly deeper about their lives, their struggles and the paths that had led them here. A fragile bond was forming, built on honesty, respect, and the possibility of trust. And for the first time, William felt that maybe, just maybe, this meeting was the beginning of something far more meaningful than he had ever expected. Over the next few months, William and Lina met frequently. At first, it was casual coffee breaks, short lunches, and occasional walks through the city park. William was careful, never pushing too fast, always respectful of her pace. Lina, too, was cautious. The memory of the cafe and the years of struggle had taught her to guard her heart. Yet, as they spent time together, a quiet ease began to grow between them. One afternoon, they sat on a bench in a sunlit park. Lina was sketching ideas for a new design project in her notebook, while William sipped coffee beside her. "You've gotten really good," William said, glancing at her drawings. "These buildings, they feel alive, not just structures, but homes." Lina smiled faintly. "Thank you. It's taken years of struggle to see things this way. I've had to fight for every opportunity." William reached for her hand gently. "I see it, Lina. I've been watching from afar for a long time. And I admire your strength more than I can say." Lina looked into his eyes, noticing a vulnerability she hadn't seen before. "William, you don't need to say that. You've already changed the way I think about people." They laughed softly, a moment of lightness that felt new to both of them. As weeks turned into months, their friendship deepened. They shared stories about their childhoods, dreams, and fears. William spoke about the loneliness behind his success, the constant pressure of maintaining his empire, and the mistakes he had made along the way. Lina spoke about her mother's illness, the struggles of being a working student, and the dreams she still wanted to achieve. One rainy evening, after they had spent the day visiting a new architectural exhibit, William walked her to her apartment. Rain poured, drenching them, but neither moved to shelter. "You're going to catch a cold," Lina said, laughing despite the situation. "I don't care," William replied softly. "I'm not walking away." Lina hesitated, then stopped, meeting his gaze. "William, He took a step closer. "You don't have to say anything yet. I needed you to know that I feel something I can't ignore anymore." Her heart pounded. "I feel it too," she admitted, almost whispering. From that moment, their relationship shifted. They began dating, slowly at first, exploring their feelings while respecting each other's space. William never pressured her, never flaunted his wealth, never tried to overshadow her achievements. Lina, in turn, shared her world with him, showing him the life she had built from scratch. One evening, while having dinner at a small, cozy restaurant that Lina loved, William reached across the table. "Lina, I've been thinking." She looked up, curious. "I know I can't undo the past," he said, "but I want to be part of your future. Not just as a boyfriend, as your partner. Will you marry me?" Lina's eyes filled with tears. She laughed softly through them. "Yes, yes, William." Few months later, the wedding was simple yet elegant, attended by close family and friends. Lina's mother cried softly, proud of the woman her daughter had become. William's colleagues were amazed at the transformation of the man they had always seen as unshakable, softened by love, finally at peace. Years passed. Lina and William built a life together filled with laughter, respect, and shared dreams. They traveled, explored architecture projects together, and supported each other's ambitions. Their first child, a daughter named Emma, was born on a bright spring morning. William held Lina's hand in the hospital, whispering, "She's perfect, just like you." Lina smiled, exhausted but happy, and whispered back, "No, she's perfect because we're together." A few years later, their son Lucas arrived. The family settled into a warm, loving home where laughter filled the halls and even small, ordinary moments became treasured memories. William still remembered the night he had fired Lina, the pain she endured, the strength she had shown, and he never took for granted the life they had now. One evening, as they sat together on the balcony, watching the city lights, Emma asleep in Lina's lap and Lucas playing with blocks on the floor, William spoke softly. "Lina, I still can't believe how lucky I am. Not because of money, not because of success, but because of you. You taught me what it really means to love and respect someone." Lina leaned her head against his shoulder. "We taught each other, William. You believed in me when I was just surviving. And I saw you grow too. From a man driven by work to someone who truly cares." He kissed her forehead gently. "And I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you and our family are never anything less than happy." And so, William and Lina lived a life built not on wealth or power, but on love, respect, and the shared journey that had brought them together. Their story from heartbreak and hardship to friendship, love and family was a testament to resilience, patience, and the quiet power of choosing each other again and again. The end.
More stories coming soon. Subscribe. Thank you for watching.